many are having an incredible Memorial Day weekend? Are you glad you came to church today? Well, we are thankful that you're here. We've had quite an eventful Memorial Day weekend so far ourselves, haven't we, my love?
You could say that.
We had an incredible gift several weeks ago, or about a month ago. Pastor Keith, one of our spiritual father voices in our life, talked to IV, and he said, you know what? My family just sold our lake house, and for years we've enjoyed our boat. And my kids are grown now, and we don't go to the lake much anymore. And we want to give you our boat so that your family can enjoy it too. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. We got a boat.
You know what's better than a boat? A free boat.
So we came in from, where were we at last week? Minnesota.
Minnesota.
We were in Minnesota. We came in from Minnesota, and Ivy said, you know what? Actually, I'm going to be really honest with the church to tell them the truth, what great dad we have. Josh said, I'm coming home. Garrett and Jessica, they were coming over. Ella was going to be with us. And Josh was like, what are we going to do? I'm like, we're going to eat, and we're going to hang out. We're going to have so much fun. He's like, well, I may go back early because, I want to be with my friends at the lake. And Ivy went, Pastor Keith called me and said, you need to come get this boat. So I'm leaving today. So he left on Thursday after all of his AAPs. His brother went with him. They loaded up. They drove to Frisco, Texas on Thursday because Ivy was like, my kids are going to have a fun Memorial Day weekend. They're going to want to be with us. We're going to have so much fun. So he drove to Frisco, Texas to get the boat. He got there at midnight. They loaded up the boat at 6 a.m. on Friday morning, drove back Friday night. He got in. We woke up yesterday morning. We went to Frederick's Outdoors. He said, let's buy a big inner tube. So we bought Big Bertha, this big, massive inner tube.
What says I love you like Big Bertha?
Big Bertha.
I mean, honestly.
Bought Big Bertha. We bought life jackets. We were so excited. I got all kind of lunch meat. We're going to have the best time ever. I even got Little Debbie snacks. I went old school. I got vinegar and salt chips. We were packed, ready to go.
Oatmeal cream pies.
I got the nut. Look at there, standing ovation. Oatmeal cream pie. Philip's like, that's right. I got Best Mom Award. I got all kind of great stuff. Loaded up, and y'all don't know this yet, so sorry, because Garrett and Jessica are excited to go to the river this afternoon, but we got great plans.
Go. We can totally
we're going to go. It's going to be fun.
We can set the boat, all that.
So we went he put the boat in right down from our house. We got in the river and started going down the river. We got Big Bertha out, ready to get our tow rope, everything going. They're ready to jump in and have so much fun, and we hear beep. I'm like, is that bad beep or a good beep? He's like, I don't know a lot about boats, but I don't think that's a good beep. I think it's a bad beep.
Anytime something's beeping, I'm pretty sure that's not a good thing.
We're like, well, it's not smoking. I think it's fine, So he checked out some stuff. So long story short, So
with YouTube, why does the boat beep?
I YouTube.
Google tells the truth. So I was like, what is going on? And so it was like, this, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. So I called the mechanic. I was like, listen, my boat's beeping. He was like, well, is it overheating? I'm like, well, I don't know. I was like, cars usually if car overheats, you know it. And I was like, I don't know. Where's it get water from? He's like, well, it pulls water from the river and sends it around your engine. He says, is it doing that? I was like, I don't know. That's why I'm calling you. He's like, well, go back there with it running and grab the water hose. He said, if it's hot, then it's the impeller's not working. Anybody here know what that is? Yeah, I don't. So, so I grabbed the hose and I can squeeze it and it's hot. Yeah. So I was like, no, man, I can squeeze it and it's hot. And he said, well, it's overheating even though your temperature gauge is not showing. You need to change the impeller. I'm like, awesome, got it. I said, you got one? He said, yeah, I got one. Bring it. Come on down here. So I send Justin Potter because everybody's on the boat. Everybody's on the boat. So I said, hey, I'm going to pull over to the thing. I'll take the boat to the house. You go get the impeller. I said, I'm putting it on. Dadgummit. My family's having a good time. So YouTube, how to change the impeller. Because YouTube's true.
I said, babe, it's not going to take that long. The video's 11 minutes.
She's like, the video's 11 minutes long. How long can it take? So
it's going to be changed in 11 minutes. No big deal, right?
she was like,
you can do this.
The instructional video was 11 minutes long, so she thinks, literally, it'll take like 11 minutes.
Well, 3.5 or 4 hours later, he gets but you did change the impeller. And I think it's great that you know more about our boat now.
I know where the impeller's at.
Takes it down to the river. He's so excited.
How many of you know that I was fired up that I was going back to the river by 5 p.m. with a changed impeller?
He gets down to the river. he goes off fast because Pastor Keith doesn't just give us a boat. It's like a boat, like boom, 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 like a boat, loud boat.
It's the Harley of boats.
Yeah.
It will get down the
So
not the road,
he
but
puts
the
it
water.
down. He's so excited. I said, we'll meet you back because we went to a graduation party at the Suches. And I said, we'll meet you back and we'll go for a sunset cruise, okay? And he's like, okay. So they put it back in the water, going fast, beep.
I did not cuss. I just want to tell everybody in here, I passed all those tests yesterday. With joy, I changed out the impeller, which I didn't even know how to spell, by the way. Like, I was like, what is that? And changed it out. I handled everything correctly. The only time I kind of lost it was when my wife was laughing hysterically at the fact that the boat was broke.
No, I've told you guys before, if you're new to Epic and to our family, you may not know this, but everyone else knows this. I have inappropriate laughter syndrome. At inappropriate times, I get uncontrollable laughter, I told him, I
And
said,
it's not like she's laughing. She goes, like it's a giggle, which is worse.
so he's hot, he's sweating, he's red, and I just start dying laughing. I'm like, aren't you so thankful the Lord gave you a helpmate fit for you that can laugh at these times? He's
Wait, listen. I'm in the engine pit thing in the back of the boat, sweating, and I hear him behind me. I don't say nothing. I'm checking home, doing my thing. And then she actually does start cackling, laughing. And I go. She goes, aren't you so glad that I can make you laugh? I was like, none of this is funny. Not a bit of it.
So then he calls me, and he texts me at the party, and he said, hey, no sunset cruise, beeps back. I'm like, okay, no big deal. So I get the text, so I call him, and he answers the phone. He's like, hello. I'm like, oh my gosh, you sound like you're
That's
dehydrated.
not true. How do you sound dehydrated?
Hello.
I was like, hello. I
He
was
sounded
tired.
dehydrated. Have I not known when you are dehydrated throughout your whole life? It's a special like power or something. I know when the men around me are dehydrated. I'm like, you're dehydrated. He's like, couldn't you have said like, hello, I love you so much? So I went, click, and I hung up. I wasn't thinking.
She hung up on me.
I called right back. He said, hello.
literally-
I said, I love you so much. He's like, oh my gosh, when are you coming home?
How many of you ever have a day where you feel like this is a lot of tests? Like this just one test right after the other. And so I was so proud of me. Like I stayed happy the whole time. I can do mechanics, I just don't.
And then to put it worse, okay, Josh and Alex were at the house, and they didn't go to the graduation party. They were going to stay and help Justin and Ivy. And
Yeah.
I said, babe, how are they doing helping you? He said, well, Alex is snoring on the back of the boat, and Josh is in the other part of the boat, and he's sound asleep too. So they slept the whole time in the boat. He is pointing to his hand. He got grease on his hand somehow, and he was like, that's a total win.
As he was laying down, he put his hand on something dirty. I say vision. That had nothing to do with the conversation. She wanted to tell that story. And so,
You know what? We pass tests just like we encourage you guys to pass tests.
Proverbs 29:18 in the Message translation says, if people can't see what God is doing, they stumble all over themselves. But when they attend or pay attention to what he reveals, they are most blessed. So here's what we want as a house in all locations. Doesn't matter where we're at. We want everybody to be blessed. The way that you're more blessed than you would be without this information is if you know why you're here, why do I exist in the planet, and where am I going? In every facet of life and with every organization, you need to at least know two things. Why did God put us in the earth? And as a result of that, where are we going to be in 5 years? Where are we going to be in 10 years? Where are we going to be in 25 years? So Epic Church exists, and some of you know this, some of you don't know this. If you're checking us out online, this is super important for you to know. Actually, just so everybody stay tuned in, most important Sunday you could be at Epic Church to find out why we're here and where we're going, what we value, what we believe in, what's our plan for you as you're connected to this house, and what's our plan to reach the entire globe with the greatest news on the face of the planet, which is the gospel or the news of Jesus Christ. So the reason that we exist is to see people experience life. Everybody say life. And live it to the full. That comes from John 10:10, because that's actually why Jesus said he was here. So we figured if we're his church, his kids, then we should probably just do what Jesus did. How do you know that's probably a good idea? So we exist to see people experience life and live it to the fullest.
And life is Jesus. Everybody say Jesus. That is life. That's where our purpose is found. So 2 different areas I'd like to celebrate as we're talking on Vision Sunday that have happened since January, our last Vision Sunday. We've had, I think, 3 different baptisms that have happened since then. God is doing phenomenal things. There are so many people that God is bringing from all over the world, and we're going to share about that a little bit more in just a few minutes, that they're truly coming in broken, just like I was the first time I came into church. And they're finding their purpose, they're finding their identity, they're walking through forgiveness, they're walking through years of different hurts and pain and finding healing, and we get to see the fruit of that on Baptism Sunday, that they gave their life to God, and now they're following it with a believer's baptism. So that has been incredible. The other way is Freedom Conference. For those of you that are new to Epic, we have a curriculum here. It's called Life, Living in Freedom Every Day. It's a 12-week curriculum. At the end of that, we have a Freedom Conference. These happen twice a year, and God is doing phenomenal things through that. In Freedom Conference, we're watching hundreds upon hundreds of people who have been paralyzed by fear throughout all of their life, completely walking free from fear. Yeah. I'll have people send me a message and they'll say, you know what, I walked in the dark for the first time ever, and they're 45. I'm like, that is the best news. Because to be paralyzed by fear, which I lived that way for many years, it's miserable. They're finding freedom from forgiveness. They're finding freedom from an orphan spirit, just always feeling like they never belong, they never fit in, they never realized it was a spirit whispering to them. So we're watching God do incredible things in the life of Epic Church.
So then there's the vision. Everybody say vision. So that's where we're going. And we're going to talk about the problems with being able to see that. But I want you to know what the vision of this house is. And it's this: to develop leaders. Everybody say leaders. To develop leaders to do transformational ministry. We have no desire just to do church. We want to really see people transform into the likeness of Christ that they were meant to be. So to develop leaders that do transformational ministry, launching campuses all over the globe, reaching 10% of the population. So we are a church that absolutely believes you have to take action. Everybody say action. We have this saying around this house, and I hope you've heard it. If you've not heard it, then I'm going to introduce you to it. You have to work like it only depends on you and pray like it only depends on God. That's where miracles happen. So we're very passionate, intense about moving forward, getting stuff done. So inside the develop leaders part of our vision, we have 2, not just 2, but basically 2 avenues where we're working on doing that. One is Emerge. Emerge is for high school students. So if you have a student or you are a student, then you really want to be a part of this, because it's a 6-week summer program, and also we have a year-round program where you're a high school student, or if you're one, you can learn true leadership principles to become the best version of you as a high school student. Pastor CB heads that up, as well as the other one we'll talk about. So CB, if you would stand and wave at everybody. She does a phenomenal job at leading your kids in Emerge. And then we have something called ECLI. ECLI stands for Epic Church Leadership Institute. Right now, if you finish the 2-year program, and I do mean if you finish the 2-year program, you get a certificate of leadership, much like if you graduate a tech school, and tech school says you are certified to do such and such and such and such. We're able now to give you a certificate, but we are working very diligently for it to become an accredited actual college. That is part of our vision, so that we can develop leaders. There is actually an interest meeting on June the 9th at 2:30 if you're in here and you're an adult, and you're like, you know what? I want to grow in my leadership. It really doesn't matter where you're at in life. If you want to be a better version of you in all facets of life, self-leadership is how you do that. Epic Church Leadership Institute will teach you that. But if you're here, out there, and you're like, man, I would like to be a part of Epic Church in a full-time capacity, on staff, doing great things, then you just need to know one of the prerequisites of being hired here is that you go through ECLI. I highly recommend that you do that before you get hired. We have hired people and we put them on probation as they go through that, because if you can't successfully navigate ECLI, you will not be able to successfully navigate being on staff here. So if you're like, man, that's my deal, that's my jam, I want to be able to do that, then CB, especially come to June 9th at 2:30 and come to the ECLI, get plugged in, because it will help you become the best version of you. And then we also have something called Lead Now. Everybody say Lead Now. Lead Now helps us do pastors' conferences all over the globe. It does leadership training here. CB has another avenue that they meet how many times a month? It's 12 weeks. It's It's a 12-week program. So like if ECLI is a little much, which it is a lot, but you're like, I want to develop my leadership. Get with CB. She'll tell you when and how Lead Now meets here. And also, Dan Durbin and I get to travel mostly in the Southeast, some up north through Lead Now, and we go and we utilize biblical principles inside secular America, helping companies achieve what they want to achieve through leadership. I must say leadership. So we are working very diligently to develop those leaders that we need to do what God has called us to do. Now, here's the problem when you talk about vision. There's about 3 kinds of people, and here's the problem with vision. Everybody say vision. The first one's going to be this: you're just nearsighted. Nearsighted literally means an inability to see things far away. So what will happen? Already it has happened. You're checking out because it's hard for you to see it, and you think it's not of any interest to you because it doesn't deal with the now. Actually, vision deals with the now and the later. And so you really have to force yourself to be able to see 5 years, 10 years, 50 years into the future, and not fall to this temptation to just be nearsighted. The next struggle is farsightedness, which is an inability to see things close up. Some of you in here are stoked about vision, and you really can see what it's going to look like in 10 years, but you fail to see what has to be done today in order to make the 10-year vision happen. Like you're really focused on that. Like, man, here's what I would say you are: impatient. How many people are just impatient? I want it now. Well, there's a lot of building, a lot of sowing, a lot of things that have to happen now in order for that to happen later. So 2 kinds of people already. Get to a place where you can focus on what will be happening in 10, taking care of the now. Get your ability to focus on the now so that the far will happen because you're focused on it. And then the third kind of people, you have tunnel vision. Let's say tunnel vision. You get focused on one area inside this house and you're super passionate about it. Some people are super passionate about what they talked about, the freedom wing of this church. We're going to teach life, victory over darkness. We're going to see people delivered, healed, set free. That's what we do. Some people in here super focused on, I'm for. Man, we're going to help men become men, or maybe your Be Set Free is your deal. We're going to be set free because everybody needs to be set free. And then some people are focused on quest, like that's your deal. You're tunneled on that. Well, what happens is you forget about everything else that makes that one thing happen.
That's right.
How many of you know in your house there's a lot that goes on?
Yes.
Inside your personal house, I mean, there's a lot that goes on, okay? But somewhere in your house, you may be really, really focused on one thing. The floors just need to be vacuumed. If you could just vacuum the floors, I'd be okay. Well, the truth is you wouldn't be. Because there's so much more that has to go on than just vacuuming the floors, but that's just your deal. Inside this house, it's the same way. So wherever you're at in that, how do we overcome that? Discipline and choice. You have to open up your vision. You have to get peripheral vision. You got to be able to see far away. You got to see now, and you got to see what's going on as a whole so that we can holistically make what God wants to happen. So what is specifically God doing in this house? We just want to give you a few things and some pictures and some analogies to go with it, because I want you to know that you are part of something much bigger than 607 14th Street. You're part of something way bigger than Athens High School location. You're part of something way bigger than Eswatini, South Africa. So what is God doing? He is connecting people that are far from Him to Him through His house. Yes. Let me say that one more time. He is connecting people who are far from Him to Him through His house.
Yeah. Go ahead and celebrate that. Anna's excited. This past week at Ownership, we had an incredible opportunity to meet so many new families. I think we had like 42, 48 people that went through Ownership. Ownership is, if you're new to Epic, I want to own the vision. And at Ownership, we were sitting across the table from 2 different couples. One guy, I want to make sure I get all the names right. His name is Nathan. He was talking about just moving here from LA. They were looking at what area they wanted to live in. God connected them to Epic Church before he ever even moved here. His fiance is Brittany. She's from Washington. They moved here. And then in just a second, I'm going to show you a video. And it is a couple named Benjamin and Amanda Dudley. They're from Oregon, and they were online, looked up non-denominational churches, and they could have lived in 4 different states. They needed to live within an hour of Franklin, Tennessee. And because of what God is doing here in Epic Church throughout the globe, He brought them here to partner with us. So check out this video. It's about 4 minutes long, and then we'll be right back with you.
Hi, my name is Benjamin Dudley, and this is my wife, Amanda. We have been attending Epic Church in Athens since February, and we would love to share some of the details about how we made our way here from about halfway across the globe.
So our journey of coming here was just really God-driven. We were moving here to be closer to Benjamin's children and wanted to find, a good home where we could make kind of our new home here in the South. And we weren't sure what city, what community we wanted to make home, especially because we were looking for houses from so far away. And so Benjamin's idea is that we should first start by finding a church. And so he researched churches in Tennessee and Alabama, trying to find a non-denominational church that we would connect with and that we would want to go to, and so that we didn't end up buying a home and be an hour away from a place that we would want to go to church. So that's where we first found Epic TV and started listening to sermons online on Sundays.
So one of the main things that we were looking for in our search was trying to just find a church that aligned with our mission and vision and values in life. Epic Church was really the place that aligned perfectly with what we were looking for. Just loving people and loving Jesus and serving any and everybody in the community.
In January, it was just another Sunday morning, and Benjamin had been up really early. He had already watched the 9 a.m. service here, which was 7 a.m. on the West Coast. And then he comes in and he wakes me up, and I get the baby and he's on my lap, and we kind of get ready to watch the later service, which for us was 9 a.m. And I still remember the worship starts, and Benjamin said something different that day, and he said, "Amanda, I want us to participate in church this morning." And it struck me strange. I'm like, participate, I'm just sitting on the couch. And but just I just felt something different, and I just decided to, instead of just kind of mouth the words, to sing with worship and to start raising my hands. And so was he. So it was this different experience. It's like we were there and we were experiencing what everyone else was that was here at Epic, but we were across the country. So that was just really special.
The way that the Holy Spirit moved here on that day was so cool, because it didn't only move here, it moved all the way across the country, across the globe in Oregon. And as Pastor was praying for healing of a gentleman's back here in the front row, low back pain is something that I've struggled with for a long time, and it's been very painful for me. And I just believed in that moment that Pastor was praying for me as well, even though he didn't know that he was. And in that moment, my back was healed as well, in the same way that the man's back was healed here.
Within a month, we were on the road and coming here, and finally, I remember our first Sunday, and we're at the Athens campus, and we walk in, and it felt like we were the only people walking in at that moment. And you have people then waiting at the VIP table and at the Connect Center, and just the welcome team, and the person holding open the door, and the person checking in kids. And it's like they all looked at us because they know, you're new. And we walk in, and it wasn't there weren't any walls of who are all these people. It was just I can't wait to get to know what all your names are. It just felt like home. I mean, it was God-driven the entire way, and he brought us to a place so far from the home we came from, but immediately into a new home, and we've never looked back.
I encourage you to just follow God anytime he speaks into your life, because that's exactly what we did, and our lives are changed forever, and we just can't wait to see what's going to happen here and what we get to be a part of.
One thing Amanda told me that night at dinner, she said when we were walking in the Athens campus, she said, I was so excited because they're like, oh, they were so excited, a VIP. And she was thinking, I wonder if we're going to be best friends. When am I going to have dinner at your house? When are we? Because God had already brought her here. And he knew that God wouldn't take them from family without giving them a new family. And that's one thing that's very, very unique to Epic Church. If I was to say, lift your hands if you've lost a spouse. Lift your hands if you've lost a parent. Lift your hands if you've lost a child. We have so many people that God has brought here so that they would know you don't walk alone. You have a family that is here. And that's a beautiful, beautiful gift, Epic.
I'm going to say passion. Here's what I want for you. I want you to be as fired up about this as we sound like we are, because we really are. Like, this is not put on. This is not, hey, let me make voice inflection be awesome so I can hold your attention. I don't have to sound fired up for this. I really, really am. And it's not our vision. It's a vision that God has given this house, which means it's yours. And here is my, like, I don't even know what you call it, but this is what I believe about life. If you can move with passion and intention hard enough in the right direction, even when you mess up, you'll gain ground. How many have you ever played football? Raise your hand if you played football or you watch it. Play it or 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 watch it. Okay. So here's if you play football, you know this to be true. And when I say this, you'll probably say, oh yeah, that looks like that could be true because I watch it. The coach will tell you, look, if you want to get injured or hurt, go out there and move around slow and get hit. If you want to play the game right and you don't want to get hurt, run wide open and hit them as hard as you can. Well, I believe that's true in life. I think you should just run as fast as you can on purpose. I'm not talking about anywhere, because there's some places you don't need to run. But I mean, how many know that? Okay? So listen, be wide open. Everybody say wide open. With purpose, that's your mission, and your vision, because here's what happened. How many of you ever tripped walking? You got hurt, didn't you? You did. You hit something. You fell down, hit a table. You broke a rib. You were just walking. Have you ever stubbed that pinky toe and thought, my life is over? Especially at 2 a.m, going to the bathroom, hit that thing. Man, that hurts. And you were walking. Well, here's what's true. If you've ever been running and tripped, you got skin up a little bit, but you stood back up 20 yards down the direction you were going. How many know what I'm talking about? You're running wide open, somebody stuck their foot out, you hit that blade of grass that you don't know where it come from. Like you hit something and you got skin, you skin up a little bit. I'm not saying you're like, some of you know how to roll. How many know what I'm talking about? Some of you know how to roll and you rolled, jumped up and kept going. That's like a ninja. That's awesome. I hope everybody learns that. But I'm not just talking about practically. I'm talking about with vision and purpose. Momentum will cover a multitude of sin. You need to adopt that, write that on your mirror. Because here's why you keep getting in trouble. Because you're walking through life. You're hanging out. You're not really getting anything done. Start running your race for God. Actually, the Bible says run your race. It doesn't say walk it. Run your race. Why? Because I think God knows, being God, that when you fall down, I need you to gain some dang ground. Because you're going to fall down. I don't want you to fall down and stop. I want you to fall down and keep going. We run a class called Warrior Evolution. And there was a guy that joined it. He was 52 years old. And he decided to run downhill. How many know that's a bad idea? How many know running downhill is a bad idea? He turned it into a very good idea because he thought, here's my chance to gain speed on this long run. And he starts running down. I'm talking about running downhill. That dude tripped. He fell for, I am not exaggerating, 5 minutes. He fell for 5 minutes. He fell, got up, hit about 3 more steps, fell again, stood up again. I was like, here's honest to goodness, I thought, well, I hadn't lost one yet, but this is it. He just wouldn't go down. How many know what I'm talking about? Like I was literally saying, just fall, just fall. When you hit the ground, stop. But no. He fell for 5 minutes. All I saw was arms and feet. He was just going. Got off the trail a little bit, in the rough now. In the rough, still trying to run, falling, hit a tree, spun him around, did a backflip. The guys who were there can testify that I'm telling you the truth. And listen, finally, the last he rolled. I'm going to say hallelujah. He rolled, jump up. As soon as he stood up, he said, I'm good. And I thought, is he announcing to himself or to everybody that's seen this go down? And just kept right on running. Like, look, I want that for your life. But the truth is, if you don't get passionate about why you're here and where you're going, then you're just existing. God never put you on the planet to just exist. Run your race in the Lord. Figure out why you're here and what your future holds and hit it wide open so that when you fall, you gain some ground.
That's right.
So here's what God is doing through the mission and vision here too. He's leading us to make a practical difference in our communities.
So some practical ways we're making a difference that we want you guys to be aware of. We send families every single week, husbands and wives or children, singles, to counseling. If it's counseling that's above what our knowledge is, which our knowledge to counseling is very small, we can biblically advise. But if you need counseling and you can't afford counseling or you don't have insurance, we set money aside so that we can help you and assist you in those areas. We also are able to help people with rent and utilities and just different areas in life. If they're struggling, we want to empower them to know that you have a family and somebody's beside you and believes in you. Some other ways, we're very visible in the schools. How many teachers do we have in here? Teachers are people that work in the school system. God is using our teachers in an amazing way. They know their purpose. Their purpose, it's not just a job, that's their ministry. So they take the tools that God has given us here at Epic Church and usher that into the classroom. God's making a powerful difference in that way. We also have the opportunity to be involved in many different community events and different council meetings and things like that. They'll invite us to pray and just to be involved in that. We were actually at the courthouse the other day, and Judge Langham came up to us and he said, "Thank you guys so much for putting on Shred Day." We're like, "Well, you're welcome, Judge." For those of you that don't know what Shred Day was, it was an opportunity to bring any old hard drives, any drugs or drug paraphernalia, and they actually had their machine here, and we shred all this stuff up. And he told us this was super cool, and Anna let us know too. We shredded 115 pounds of drugs. Now, this is not like marijuana. This was mainly pills. 115 pounds of pills. That's a lot of pills. That's some good stuff. And out of everything that was shredded that day, they told us it gave them an opportunity to make 251 cars. Wow. That's how much weight was shredded. Incredible stuff. One other event that we did that I'm super proud of during Love Week, and we shared this with you right after the event. But one of the days during Love Week, if you're new to Epic, we take the week leading up to Easter and just radically love on our community. One of the events was we went into the ER, in local ERs, just to pray with people. And one of our team members went in to pray with this guy. He had came in suicidal, and he left out a saved son of God. So on his worst day became his best day. So you are a part of a church that is doing a lot of amazing things locally in our community as well.
So we want to be the church that plants campuses. We have a Decatur campus, an Athens campus, South Africa, East Swatini campus. But God is still and will continue to open up doors for us to plant campuses. Alex, stand up and wave at everybody. Alex will be returning from Texas shortly. No, man, come on, you know you like it. Okay.
You're supposed to look at Nana and your dad and go and point at them. Like, see, your Nana and dad are sitting right. Thank you. Acknowledge them. Honor.
He completed ECLI like a champ, kept an A, didn't you?
In high school while playing multiple sports.
Yep. Kept an A average. I told him, I said, if you'll keep an A average through ECLI, I will give you a scholarship to a leadership college. He chose Texas. We sent him out to Pastor Keith's church, who has a leadership college. We fund him to go there, and he'll graduate a year from July, and he's going to come back, and he's banked on being our youngest campus pastor ever. So God is doing super, super great things. And then it is our honor and privilege to announce to you today is the first opening of Carson City, Michigan Epic Church. There is now a campus running today in Carson City, Michigan by Wojo and Jean. Wojo is, the story I just told you, the guy who fell for 5 minutes? That's him. That's a real story. And so them and their beautiful family live in Carson, Michigan. By trade, Wojo is a tattoo artist. He has 2 tattoo shops. And while he was here, funny fact, interesting fact, Wojo and Jean were on staff here several years ago as one of the original worship leaders of this church. God called them to Michigan. When he came back and did Warrior Evolution, God spoke to him. He's supposed to be in ministry. Went back, started meeting. God grew it really fast. They'll be moving into a building really soon. We had a conversation about them becoming a campus. I said, hey, I believe God's in it. Told Bené about it. She said, yes. There was agreement here. And then I turned it over to the people who kind kind of talk them through that. And so today was their first meeting. We piped in the conversation. He took over from there. So please be praying for your newest campus pastors, their family in Carson City, Michigan. So God is doing some great things. I want to tell you this before I do point 4. At any point, if you feel God leading you to leave Decatur, Alabama, and go to Athens, go to Africa, or now Carson City, Michigan, to be a part of what God is doing in and through our house, we just want you to know that we bless you to make that move, because we are, in fact, one church in many locations right now, and for soon will be a bunch of locations. So if you're watching out there through Internetville, and you're like, man, that sounds fun, I'd like to be a part of that, then I just challenge you to pick up and move from where you are. Join us in Decatur, join us in Carson, join us in Athens, Alabama, or go to Africa and join us there, because God's doing amazing things. And you don't ever have to wait on God to move where you are. You can go to where He's already moving and join Him doing great things there. So that's for somebody in Internetville. We love you guys. So the other thing that God is doing is He is globally opening opportunities for us as an entire church to mentor, teach, empower people through I Am For and Be Set Free.
One thing that the Lord spoke to us many years ago after we were saved is that we are not an echo. He's going to give us a unique voice and a unique sound. Ivy and I have never forgot what it's like to be lost, to be far from God. If you're new to Epic, we were not raised in church. And we are very passionate about helping people learn who they are and find forgiveness and find wholeness and find purpose, because we really want you to live life to the fullest. We want everybody to live life to the fullest. And God has given us so many different areas globally. This is a global church. You come in on Sunday morning and you see who's sitting around you, or you're logged online and you see what's around you. But globally, God is using Epic. He is using you to make a difference. Every single week, Ivy mentors a pastor in India. This pastor sends pictures every single week. His phone will start going off on a Sunday afternoon, and it'll have just dozens of pictures of all this salvation and life transformation that's happening in India. So he mentors a pastor in India. He mentors a pastor in Bulgaria. That pastor actually flew here, stayed with us, and God is just doing some transformational stuff in Bulgaria. We still don't know how we were connected to the pastor from India or the pastor from Bulgaria. The Lord just sent them here because there was a unique voice, a unique sound that was happening from this church that He needed to pipe into those areas. We also mentor pastors in Africa, in South Africa, in Eswatini. We mentor or oversee churches in Minnesota, Tennessee, Mississippi, Missouri, many different places throughout Texas, Florida, Ohio, New York, and Michigan. Why am I telling you this today? You are very special and unique. God is doing special and unique things through our church. It's not just about Decatur, Alabama. It's what God has called us to do throughout the world. And we are honored and privileged that we have an opportunity to do that. That's pretty special, huh? Yes.
He's also helping us make disciples. Everybody say disciples. It's not enough for us in this house to just come and sit. We really want people to transform. Jesus said the way that you do that is you go and make disciples. That word means follower or learner of Him. He says, teach them all that I taught you. So we're really on purpose about doing that. Isaiah 43:19 says this, behold, if I say behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not see it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. We're doing something pretty powerful that I'm really, really excited about. For most of the part, the church always is behind the curve. And here's what I mean by that. I tell our leadership team all the time, I'm like, listen, man, don't stay with the curve. Don't stay behind the curve. Create the curve. Just create the curve. And here's so you can understand what that means is, anybody old enough to remember what MySpace was? Okay, MySpace. All right. Notice I said was. You know why it doesn't exist? Because somebody came out about the time they thought they were killing it, and they created the curve, and their name was Facebook. And Facebook killed MySpace. You can tweet that, okay? Like they did. They killed MySpace because it wasn't about MySpace anymore. It was about my face being in my book or whatever. I don't know how they did it, but they created the curve, and they crushed it. And then Instagram comes out. Facebook understands, wow, that's really cool, so they bought them out. They're always creating the curve. There was a guy who came out and made a phone, and most of you have it. It's called an iPhone. Anybody remember that? He wasn't okay with the flip phone. He wasn't okay with the smartphone. He made a crack phone. I don't know. Like, everybody's got to have it. You get addicted to it. It's the greatest. Why? Because he's he's on the front end, and that company's on the front end and coming out with everything, and so everybody's copying them. Everybody right now is copying the iPhone because they're staying on the front of the curve. So I tell my team here that you entrust me to lead, Benay alongside of me is like, listen, I need y'all to think outside the box and create the curve. So for eons, every church has done the next gen ministry a certain way. You have this age, you have this age, you have this age. It's usually a couple of arms in general. You have like the elementary kids and you have the high school kids, and they're in two things. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. It's just for us, I want us to get ahead of the curve and see how we can change this, because every stage of growth you learn differently. And we're really, really passionate about empowering the next generation to get it. Just for a second, imagine if you really knew who you were when you were 12. Like, for real. Not kinda, and I'm not talking about you knew your name and could write it. I'm talking about you knew at 12 you are a son of God or a daughter of the King. Not superficially, but you really understood it. How different would middle school have been for you? How different would high school? You'd actually remember college. Right? I mean, how many know it would be so if I got it? And some of you can say, I went to church growing up, but I really didn't get it. Well, imagine if we took it down a notch and first graders got it. I mean, they really, at their stage, they got it. And by the time they're in fourth grade, they are jamming. So our next gen team, Catherine and JP, along with all their volunteers, put their heads together, and they did exactly what I instruct them to do all the time. Listen, if you see a problem but you don't know the answer, ask Holy Spirit, because he's like real smart. How many know God's real smart? Well, let me tell you something maybe you know, maybe you don't know. His Spirit lives in you.
That's right.
There's no reason you should ever face a problem that you're not the answer to. You just got to ask the answer who lives inside of you. How can we do this? What can this look like? So they wanted to build this bridge. They had a revelation of what they could do, so they began to put things in. Why? Because we love your kids. Like, for real, how many of you have kids in here? Teenagers, elementary school, little babies, you got a child. Listen, we love them, and here's what we want to help you do. We want to help you help them get it.
That's right.
Like, for real. Like, not kinda, but that they understand, man, I'm like a child of God, for real. And this is what that looks like, and help them understand who they are and whose they are, that God loves them no matter what, and all the things that they teach over there. But there was a gap. So Benay's going to share with you how we filled in those gaps and what, it's not even a change, it's an adjustment. How many know the difference between a change and an adjustment? A change means something's broke, we got to change it. Adjustment means it's almost right. We got to turn it a little bit. So that's what we're doing inside the Next Gen department.
So starting July 7th, under the eKids umbrella will be this. We have two different umbrellas, eKids and Next Gen. So eKids will look like this. Journey will be birth through pre-K. That's what it is right now. Journey will be birth through pre-K. Quest will be kindergarten through the fourth grade. Quest will be kindergarten through the fourth grade. Our newest addition is Transit. Transit will be fifth and sixth grade. Traditionally in churches, fifth and sixth graders, they don't fit into Quest anymore, but they really don't fit into students yet. So we want to have them a place that they can transit to their next environment. Under the Next Gen umbrella, another new addition will be Rise. Rise will be 7th through 9th graders. Before, we had 6th graders through 12th graders in shift. And that's just too big of a gap. So as more kids started coming, we're looking at what do we need to do to make the healthiest environment.
Let me ask you a question. How many of you would like to get in a classroom where you had to teach a 6th grader and a senior at the same time? Yeah, that would blow groceries, wouldn't it? People are like, I don't even know. All y'all sit over here, all y'all sit over here, and I'll have to write 2 messages. That's what our student pastor was doing year after year after year, because he was talking to a 6th grader, which you got to talk to them special. How many have a 6th grader and you're like, hey. And then you got the 12th grader over here who's going, hey, I got it, let's go. Okay, so hands off to our student ministry for handling that problem for year after year and making it effective.
So Rise is 7th through the 9th grade, and Shift will be 10th through 12th grade. Shift will be 10th through 12th grade. So when they come on Sunday nights, there will be, you will have Rise and Shift happening at the same time. And I want to give you guys a viewpoint really quick as we begin to close. What we've been looking at as we sit out here, because this is very encouraging to me. If you are 25 or under, stand up. No matter if you're 5 years old, 25 or under, stand up.
25 and
25 and under.
Dang!
This is what we've been looking at. God is entrusting us with phenomenal, phenomenal people for the next generation. Poor Jessica. Garrett married an older woman.
Go
just
on,
by
GP.
2 years.
Yeah.
Just by 2 years.
Proverbs 11:24 through 25 says, the world of the generous gets larger and larger, and the world of the stingy gets smaller and smaller. The one who blesses others is abundantly blessed. Those who help others are helped. If you're new here or you've been here a while, one of our 7 core values is generosity. Everybody say generosity. Why? Because of this verse right here. The how, the world, the house, the heart, the influence, the trajectory in which you grow and everything that you get to see grows bigger and bigger and bigger if you're generous. But if you're stingy, your influence, your measure of rule, your house, the world that you live in gets smaller, 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 smaller. We all know this to be true because the world teaches to be stingy. Get all you can, hold on to it for as long as you can so that you will be rich. Well, what you don't understand is the richness you desire escapes you when you close your hands. But inside the kingdom, God says, man, look, here's how you get access to everything I have for you. You sow into my kingdom. You become generous with who you are and what you have. And I promise that when you do that, I'm going to open up the windows of heaven, pour out on you a blessing you cannot contain. This year, Benet and I had a conversation, or I guess I was informing you of a prayer time. I said, hey, here's what we're going to do this year. We're going to be more generous than we've ever been, which had to do with our time, had to do with the resources that we own, and had to do with money that we had, that we were going to sow. You got to understand there's a difference between tithing and sowing. If you tithe, which is give 10% of the money you earn, that's just being obedient. You hadn't crossed into generosity yet. But listen, if that's where you're at, awesome. If you're not into tithing yet, I encourage you to do that today because there's a promise connected to it. You will be blessed. Then the next level is sowing. That's where you become generous. That's what any money you give over your tithe, that's where you start to sow and you access generosity. So when I said to her, we're going to be more generous than we've ever been this year, she knew what that meant. And I'm going to tell you, and I hardly ever do this because it always sounds like you're bragging. I'm not bragging on us, I'm bragging on God's promises. Our life this year so far, since we made that decision, has been more blessed in our marriage, with our children, with our friends, with our influence, with things that we've seen God do. I'm not talking about our money has been more blessed. I'm talking about my life. Now, the truth is you would rather have a much more blessed life, relationship with your children, your friends, than you would a fat bank account. I'm not saying that it doesn't affect your bank account. What I'm saying is count the blessings that really matter. How do you get access to that? You make the decision. You know what, God? Your word says if I'm generous with a whole lot, I'm going to reap a whole lot, and I'm going to hold you to that promise. I'm going to sow. Why am I telling you that as we talk about Vision Sunday? Because the first Sunday of every month from here on until Epic ends, we're going to have something called Vision Sunday. Do what?
I said, which is never.
Oh, we're going to have something called Vision Sunday. The first Sunday of every month. Listen, come and tithe. That's just being obedient. That's just what we do as Christ followers. But then I want to give you the opportunity to sow into the vision. That'll happen the first Sunday of every single month. You can know that that's the Sunday when we do it. And I'm going to write my tithe check, but I'm also going to give this toward making sure that we develop leaders, that we plant campuses, that we pour into the next generation because we're a house of legacy, and I want to be a part of that. How many of you in here love garden vegetables? Listen, if you live in the South, you're not raising your hand, you're probably lying in church. How many of you eat a vegetable of some kind? Okay, that's everybody. If you enjoy a ripe tomato with salt on it, if you enjoy field peas, if you enjoy fried okra, fried squash, fried zucchini, fried taters, how many of you hungry right now? Like, can we shut the service down? Jesus is showing up right now on some fried okra, right? So it's just a season in the South where we get to enjoy vegetables. Some of you you're fruit people. You like bananas, oranges, whatever. Okay, so but there's this season we, everybody say me, get to enjoy vegetables that we didn't plant. You ever think about that? Especially if somebody drops them off at your door. How many of you have a friend that will drop some okra off at your door? Those people are from the Lord.
They are.
Okay? Jalapeno peppers just show up at your doorstep. You're like, praise God, right? Here's what you understand. Everybody in this building, everybody on the internet, you enjoy vegetables at any time of the year that you did not plant. Somebody else somewhere made the decision to do the hard work of putting a seed in the ground to make a plant grow, sprout a vegetable, and then somebody had to pick it, and you get to eat it. You didn't do anything. Why are we going to have a Vision Sunday, the first Sunday of every month? Because there's a generation that's going to eat of what we plant. You have to live with vision. You know, all through the Old Testament, people lived for some stuff they never saw. Abraham never saw the ultimate promise. Do you get that? There is a calling in the earth to God's people to finally stop living for just you. To actually sow a seed. To build something that the next generation can enjoy. How awesome would it be if a group of people took this platform 100 years from now and said, I want y'all to look at what we enjoy that we didn't plant, that we didn't do anything for, but because of our forefathers, we don't use that word anymore, but it's super powerful because we are forefathers and foremothers of a generation that's yet to be here. So if I need to help you, because everybody needs help. How many of you have kids? You're going to pick up today out of Journey or Quest the reason I'm saying what I'm saying. You're going to look into the eye of your kid and know that this is what I'm talking about. You know what our ultimate job is? To make sure Quest and Journey can cross the hallway. How tragic would it be that we don't steward what we have and they have to go through the same crap that we all went through only to come back to the Lord one day? Because we don't steward the prize we've been given, which is not this building, it's them. How many of you want your kid to have to go through what you went through? How many of you want your kid to have to go through the hang-ups and heartaches and addictions and struggles that you went through only to find Jesus at 40? Only to find Jesus at 35. Only to find Jesus at 25. Thank God that you found him. But how awesome would it be for your fourth grader to just get it? You know what I want? You know what I want the testimony of your kid to be? I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't have sex outside of marriage. I just loved the Lord all the days of my life. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that. There's a bunch of people, and the people who grew up in church, y'all do this. Y'all look at us and go, wish I had your testimony. Look, I love you, but I want to smack you right in the head. No, you don't. You do not. You do not. Well, I want yours. I want somebody to have cared enough to teach me about Jesus, to take me when I was little to a life-giving church, not to some jacked up place that talks about rules and don't do this and start doing this, but like a place that teaches me about the love of God and the freedom that's available, so that I wouldn't go through what I went through all my years, so that I don't have to go through being drunk and puking in a toilet, and me and my wife having 2 abortions and jacking up my kids the first few years that I had them because I didn't know how to be a dad. I had no concept of what it meant to be a man. She had no concept of what it meant to be a woman, to like fumble through. Was God good? Yes, but wouldn't it be awesome if your kids don't have to do that? That's why we're in here. Every attack, if you raise your hands if you have kids, let me tell you this is true. Every attack that the enemy brings to you has nothing to do with you and everything to do with your kid. The enemy don't care about you. The enemy didn't care about Adam and Eve. He cared about you. Generation after generation after generation. I need sin to get in the world so I can jack you up. That's why he fought Adam and Eve so hard. He didn't care about Abraham. He cared about Isaac and Ishmael. When the devil attacks you, I hope you see your kid. When we give next Sunday, I want you to see some kid's face. I'm sowing a seed. And I may not see God, but that's okay. Because I want to leave a legacy. Benay and I think all the time about y'all. Pray for all of our adults, all of our shift students. But can I tell you what we see mostly? Quest and journey. And then I have enough vision to see kids that aren't even here. I can see kids that's not even in some of y'all's belly yet. Like that's what you call living with vision and with legacy. And if you need to spiritualize it to make it like more practical for you, just imagine the hallway, the little strip of hallway down through there as the Jordan River. There's a nation that's got to cross. You have something?
I do. You know, throughout history, churches haven't done that very well, helped the kids to cross over. So you see a lot of dying churches around us. And we've just made a commitment as pastors. We're going to change some things. We're going to continue to change things. It won't necessarily be the music that we like. It's not going to be the things that we want, but it's going to be the things that will always reach the next generation. And there's nothing more overwhelming than when you were standing up here. When I was standing up here and I saw so many people that had invested into Kate, so many people that had invested into Nick, people that had invested into Josh and Alex, watching tears flow down their cheeks. They knew they had personal investment, and getting to see the fruit from that, there is nothing more overwhelming. And we will continue to get to see that. That's why we want to give you an opportunity to sow into what God is doing. Because it is an overwhelming feeling. You know, I watched Kim and Al and Thurston. They've been so patient with Josh forever and sowed into this church and believed into this church. And it's overwhelming when you get to see the fruit of what you've been investing in for 12 years. So thank you, church. Thank you for believing in what God has called us to do. Thank you for entrusting us with a vision. And thank you for embracing the fact that things will change, because we want to be a healthy church, that we will hand this off to the next generation healthy, not dying, healthy. Amen?
So next Sunday will be the first Vision Sunday we have. Come prepared to sow into what you will see and also what you won't see.
That's right.
You're going to see some of it, but some of it we're not going to. That's okay. Because we're going to get to see Kate lead worship on one of our platforms somewhere in the world. I don't know if it'll be here. She's got like the travel bug. She's in Scotland right now, she just got back from Scotland. She's here, but she's in Scotland. And so your influence and your pouring into her is affecting that country. Alex is in Texas. We'll see him open a campus one day. Like, we'll see that. But you got to sow into that for that to happen. It's not just on his shoulders, it's on ours. You're gonna see, some of us will see our son Joshua take this platform and be the lead pastor of this church one day. Like that's what fires us up. Why? Because all those Question Journey kids, guess what? That's who he'll be leading one day. Like we're pouring into the next generation so that when Joshua leads them across the Jordan, like that's legit gonna happen, they'll be a mightier nation than we are right now. That's why we're training on First Thursdays little boys what it means to be prophet, priest, king, and warrior. He'll fight battles, but he won't fight the same ones we fought. Joshua overthrew 33 kings fairly easily when he took the promised land. So that's how we think. When we say there's legacy thinking in this house, that's what we're talking about. Like watch little kids just walk down the riverbed when they leave today and make a decision that next Sunday, you don't even know it, bro, but like you're gonna eat tomato plants on me one day. You don't even know it, little girl, but you got okra coming from me to like next Sunday. I'm gonna make sure you eat fried okra. None of that boiled crap that people do up north. We're gonna do fried okra for you, girl. Like whatever analogy you need to be okay with, so that it changes your perception of what we do here. Because everybody gets all tore up when you talk about money. Listen, it takes money to build a legacy. It takes money to forward God's kingdom. And in this house, we're okay with that. We really are. Because it's one of the indicators of where you're at in your heart. Like don't let that be the thing that the enemy uses to take you out. Man, do you feel that? Don't let that be the thing that the enemy pulls you out of this house. Don't let something else be the reason that the enemy pulls you out of this house. Because this house is going to live on purpose, mission, vision, and legacy thinking. You want to be here forever. If not here, then one of our locations, because we're going to hold you a bunch. So you'll have all kinds of places you can move. Yeah. Hawaii. Somebody's like, oh, I'm in. Well, join ECLI. Maybe that's you. I don't know. But like, just be thinking that way, church. So I hope you're now as excited as we are in this place of your life, that like you matter to God and to this earth. Live on purpose. God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for everybody on the sound of my voice. Father, bless them. Allow us to see as you see. Think the way you think, because Father in heaven, you think legacy. You think kingdom. Let us be kingdom-minded people who build a legacy for generations that we will see and generations we will not see. In Jesus' name. Everybody said?